Hi there, Year 11. This is your third biology lesson for this week. So if you've already watched the two lessons that I've done previously, you will know that these lessons are for the benefit of people who are not coming into school this week. So people who are coming into school are going to get these lessons from their teacher, and people at home are going to get the exact same experience just via video on the same three lessons. So this lesson is about fossils, again on the B6 topic. And it's looking at how genetics ties in with the evolution, and then how fossils can be evidence for that evolution, all at the end of that topic. So what I'd like you to know by the end of this lesson is like you to know how fossils are made and understand the importance of them. Why are fossils really, really important to scientists? So first of all, I'd like you to write the numbers 1 to 3 on your notepad or word pad or whatever you're doing this on. I'd like you to have a go answering the questions in full sentences for me. So what is this picture below? What organism or living thing do you think it is or was? What do you think happened to it? So pause the video now and have a go answering those questions for me. Okay, your answers will become clear throughout the rest of the lesson to that one. Well, first of all, I've got these two questions. What organisms here do you think have been fossilised? So we've got this in the top left corner and this in the bottom right. What do you think they are? Do you think it's something that you might recognise today? Because these are pretty old fossils. Do you think then those animals have evolved significantly? Do you think they have changed over time, or do you think they're relatively similar to something that you might see today? So, the modern day examples of those are the nurse shark and the sea turtle. So they haven't really changed much from the fossilised ones that we've seen to the organisms that we see today. Now these fossils can show us how things have changed over time. Now fossils can form in three pretty distinct ways. Okay, the first way is by replacement of minerals. So things like teeth, shells, bones, etc., which are really, really hard, they don't decay easily. So decay means to break down. So if an animal or plant or something was to die, then the soft parts are going to decay first. They're going to get broken down by microorganisms. The hard parts are going to stay there for some time. But eventually they will disappear, and where they've been are going to be replaced by minerals. So as they do decay, not disappear, but as those bones and hard parts do eventually decay, the minerals are going to form in the places where they left a space in the rock-like substance, okay, and they're going to give us a shape of what it once looked like. They are then going to turn to rock, and we end up with a rock that when someone digs it up, we find a shape of something inside of what something once looked like. So I've got three questions for you related to that information at the top of the slide. I'd like you to pause the video and have a go at answering those questions for me now. Okay, here's your answers to the questions. Tick them if you got them correct, annotate them if you need to. Okay, the second way that fossils can happen is from a cast or an impression. So fossils can usually happen if something's buried in something really soft like clay, so like a sticky clay. But when it hardens, then it surrounds the organism and it makes a cast. So we can look at where animals might live or roots of a plant, for example. A footprint would be a perfect example of this. If you're ever walking along a muddy clay footpath and you leave a footprint, when that eventually hardens and dries out, you will leave an impression or a cast of your footprint. And it's the same with those types of fossils. The third and final way that a fossil can form is where there's no decay whatsoever. So for microbes to break something down, they have to have certain conditions. There must be oxygen for them to respire. They must have moisture, warmth, and the correct pH. If those things are not there, microorganisms or microbes can't break down that organism. So therefore, it's left exactly as it was. It's like it's untouched. An example of this here would be tree amber. So if you see this flying organism here, tree amber is a bit like tree sap. It comes out of the tree, and this was probably crawling up the tree, and it's got caught in this clear orangey coloured sticky substance, which is then hardened. And in there, there's no oxygen, moisture, warmth, so microbes cannot get in to break this down, and it is preserved. And the whole organism is completely preserved. So this isn't a cast, this is the actual organism trapped inside that tree amber, okay? So I've got 2 questions for you to answer here. I'd like you to pause the video. All your answers should be in this information at the top. Pause the video and have a go at those questions for me. And here's your answers. Tick them if you got them right, correct them if you need to. Okay, so how would this look in an exam? So this is just an example question for you that I'm going to go through with you. So we've got figure 1 shows a fossil of a sea animal called a plesiosaur. I've never come across that word before. I bet you haven't either. Is that going to stop me from answering this question though? No. Okay. Examiners do this to put you off. They use these posh words so that you go, I've never seen that before, I'm not going to be able to answer this question, I'll move on. But actually, it's telling you that it was an animal, a sea animal that lived about 135 million years ago. That's kind of all we need to know to be able to answer this question. We've got a nice picture of it there. And the question is, how can the fossils give evidence for evolution? Is it that newer fossils are simpler than older fossils? Do they show change over time? Or all fossils show the bones of animals? Have a think, what would your answer be? If you went with, I thought my tick came, but it doesn't. Fossils show change over time, so this one here, you'd be absolutely spot on. So, now I've got a question that I'd like you to have a go at yourself. Think of what I've taught you so far in this lesson. I want you to apply it to this. So we've got plesiosaurs, that sea animal, lived in the sea. There was mud at the bottom of the sea. Suggest. Now that word suggest means to use your own knowledge to apply it to something new. Okay? So this question isn't expecting you to be taught about specifically that sea animal. What it's expecting you to do is apply your knowledge of how fossils might be formed to this that lived in the sea where there was mud at the bottom. Okay? So suggest how it was formed after the animal died. Pause the video now and construct your answer. Right, I've got one more question for you before I give you the answers. We've got figure 2 here, shows what scientists think living plesiosaur may have looked like. That's what they think. Scientists think that it had smooth skin and no scales. They cannot be certain what the skin was like. Suggest, again there's that word, apply what you know to be new. Suggest why they can't be absolutely certain. Okay, here's your answers. You can mark your own. If you don't know if you get a mark or not, you can ask your biology teacher if you want them to double check. So for the first one, suggest how that fossil would occur. Well, it's been covered in the mud or a sediment or something at the bottom. So it's probably died, sunk and got covered at some point with the moving tides and the water, the mud will have covered it. The soft parts of it would have decayed. They could have been eaten away by another animal. But the hard parts don't. So the bones, the teeth, for example, they've not decayed yet. Over time, when those parts do eventually decay, minerals are going to enter and it's going to turn into a rock, basically. Therefore, you're going to get a cast or an impression of what it used to look like when it had, before they sort of decayed away. The last one, why can't scientists be sure that the skin had no scales? Because skin is something soft, it's not preserved, is it? It's not saved in a fossil, so there's not enough evidence that it had skin like that. So you could say we could only see the bones, we couldn't see the skin, so they weren't certain. Okay, finally, I want you to write letters A to G, and I'm going to go through a few examples, and you're going to choose which way you think it has decayed or fossilized, should I say. So, letter A. So have a look at this picture of the fossil. Was it formed by replacement of minerals? Was it formed by a cast or an impression? Or was it preservation where there's no decay that's happened at all? Have a guess if you don't know. 1, 2, or 3. So the answer to that one is 1. Well done if you got that right. B. What about this picture of this fossil? Do you think that was replacement by minerals? Do you think that is a cast or an impression? Or do you think it's preservation, that there's no decay that's happened there whatsoever? If you put 2, you were correct. Well done. C. This fossil here, we're looking at this sort of footprint here. Do you think that was formed by replacement by mineral? Do you think that's a cast or an impression? Or do you think that's a preservation? There's no decay happened whatsoever there. The answer to that one is number 2. It's an impression or a cast, like a footprint. D. This is another example of that tree amber. So we can see a little dragonfly type thing in the tree amber. Do you think that's occurred from replacement by minerals, a cast or an impression, or preservation where there's no decay happened to it whatsoever? If you put 3, you were spot on. Next one. Have a look at this picture of a fossil. Do you think that's happened by replacement by mineral in rock? Do you think it's cast an impression? Or do you think it's preservation? No decay's happened. If you put 1, well done. Next one. Again, this looks something similar to that tree amber. So do you think this has occurred from replacement by a mineral, a cast or an impression, or preservation where there's been no decay happen whatsoever? If you put 3, you're spot on. And the last one, look how amazing this is. It looks like some prehistoric elephant type species. How do you think this fossil was formed? Do you think it's been replaced by the minerals? Do you think it's a cast or an impression within something? Or do you think it's been completely preserved? If you put 3, you're absolutely spot on. You can see it's been completely preserved. It looks exactly as it would have looked whenever it first died. So the conditions for decay were not right, therefore meaning that this organism has stayed preserved exactly as it was all those years ago. Right, we're going to finish there. That was a little brain teaser that I'm not going to bother you with. So what you need to do now is submit this work to your biology teacher. So your specific biology teacher, I want you to submit it via Teams. If you are struggling with Teams, you can submit it via email, but Teams is the preferred option. So remember, to your personal biology teacher via Teams. Thank you.